What is contentment? When do we feel contentment? So I went back and checked the dictionary meaning, and it said happiness and satisfaction. And somewhere I also read about fulfillment. What is the difference? Is there a difference between happiness and contentment? When we are talking about Ashtanga Yoga, one of the niyamas is santosha, contentment. So that's why we probably first time we heard about how this is a yoga principle, and then what Patanjali talked about it, and of course how Yoganandaji, whose teachings we follow here, and in Ananda, and Ananda is founded by Swami Kriyananda. Some of you already knew about it. He talked about contentment as a supreme virtue and how it can help us in our lives, especially on the spiritual path too, and also in our daily life. So when we have a big house, when we have a nice family or good friends, does it really satisfy us? Are we truly happy also when we have those, when we achieve those things? It all goes back to the desire, right? It looks like there is a desire to have a nice family, thinking that, okay, we'll be happy, or good friends, thinking that that will really satisfy us, or in different ways. But then, if we really look back into our lives, we are always chasing one or the other desire, right? When we are kids, we have different desires. We want to have a nice ice cream, or play in the sand or mud or whatever, right? There is something beyond that desire also, right? There is a deeper happiness or deeper contentment, deeper satisfaction we are seeking. I think that's why we are trying to fulfill that desire through all materially possible, like whether through the house, through the friends, or through the sports or whatever, or through movies. But it does give some happiness in a fleeting way. But then again, we are not really happy in the next moment. And then again, we are seeking something. But then how do we find that true happiness and true contentment? The santosha, how do we find it? And what is it stopping us from experiencing that? Of course, one I talked about is a desire. We have all these number of desires, too many desires, and we are chasing one or the other desire, thinking that that's really bringing us true happiness or true contentment. But then, what is that which is really brings us true happiness? Where you are moving beyond your limitations, your body or the mind, and even beyond that aspect of us, the spark of infinite, which is within all of us. And when we connect with that spark, when we live in that eternal now, we don't have any other distractions, and we are just completely present and completely in the moment. That's when we really feel true happiness and true contentment and true joy. And Swami and even the Master Yoganandaji very clearly talk time and again that whatever we do enjoy, and we with joy, not just enjoy, but with joy. And that's actually brings us true contentment, true happiness, not through other things. But what is the one thing which really stops us from experiencing that? But even today's affirmation actually talks about it. It's very, I think it's brilliant way Swami created each affirmation for each topic, and even for the contentment. He said, when we have unceasing complaints, that means about life, about friends, about relationships, or about our job, whatever it is. When we have this unceasing complaining nature, it stops us from experiencing our true nature. But our true nature is always very joyful and peaceful and calmness. And that's the soul nature, right? And we all have those soul qualities. So we are not experiencing that, means we are not really trusting life. And we don't have faith in life or in gurus or God, right? And we have these expectations which stemming from, obviously, from desires. However much life gives us, we always like, oh, I don't have enough. There is actually Dr. Aditya shared when he was here in one of our first workshop. He said there is a study which was made, I think, in US. They studied all income level groups. and asking them, okay, are you happy? Like, are you contented, satisfied with your life, or whatever the question is. But it was done in each income level groups. It's not like one versus other, but in generally there were, I'm sure there are other questions too. But the study clearly showed everybody from every group of the income level, every said, I'm okay, but if I get 10% more, I'll be truly happy. I'm earning like probably 10,000. If I have other 10%, then I'll be more happy. I'll be truly happy. And that was really true for even people who are earning millions of dollars, right? As I think Monica and Supriya were sharing earlier, it's greed, right? Which is stopping us really stopping us from experiencing that true happiness and true contentment. Actually, Swami talks about how the yamas and niyamas, I think most of you know the yamas and niyamas, there are five rules of conduct with the world, which is more like yamas, the things which we should not be doing, and the things we should be doing, which are niyamas. So it's like 10 yama and niyamas are more like it's attitudes of the mind and our conduct, both goes together. And they said both are also complementary. So one of the yamas which is complementary to the contentment and santosha is, any guesses? It's a third rule of yama. It's non-possessiveness and non-stealing. So, and contentment. Actually, think about it. Why both are complementary? Why non-stealing is complementary to the contentment? And if we perfect in one of these, we experience the bliss. It's very interesting. In the beginning, when I read about it, even when I was initially taking the sessions, and our teacher said, yeah, we have in Patanjali, the author of Yoga Sutras, talks about siddhis in one of the chapters, one of the padas, it's the third pada. So one of our teacher was talking about how all these yamas and niyamas, when we perfect in any one of them, each one has a particular siddhi. Siddhi means power. We get some power out of it. For example, when I practice non-violence perfectly or truthfulness perfectly, I experience oneness, love, right? Things like that. So he said, when we experience contentment, when we really practice and we gain the perfection in the practice of this particular quality of contentment, they said we get the power of bliss. In the sense, we get this ecstasy and we experience the bliss. I thought, how? Because we keep experiencing the santosha and contentment in even, I was looking at my daily life. Oh, when I have a nice ice cream or nice food, or I have a nice chat with my good friend, I feel happy and I feel contented, I feel satisfied, right? But I'm not really feeling the bliss, right? But I think it's a lower state of, the bliss is the highest octave, and whatever the happiness through our daily life and through small activities which we are experiencing, probably it's a lower active, probably that's how I can put it. But why non-stealing or non-possessiveness is the complementary to contentment, right? If you really look at it, Swami defined non-possessiveness or non-stealing as, we do have things in our lives, but when we don't steal, this is obvious definition is, of course, I'm not stealing anything which is not mine from others, right? If I'm stealing your phone, that means I'm not really, it's not with the right attitude, right? I'm actually transgressing some universal law. It's a very obvious one that we all know that we don't steal things, right? Which is not right thing to do. But he goes further and says the much deeper aspect of it is when you're not desiring anything which we don't really deserve by merit, So if I'm not, if something is coming to me, but which it's not coming through my merit, which I'm not, like whether I didn't put my effort or I didn't put my energy, or I don't know. If, for example, I mean, like a very lame example can be like, I'm not a singer, but if I have a good connection with the government, if they recognize me as a good singer and they want to give me an award, and I accept that award, that means I'm actually stealing, no, somebody's position, isn't it? It's little deeper. It's more subtler also. That way, even in during our daily life, I'm sure there are many things like that, where we are, maybe, somebody comes say, hey, you made a great lunch today, at home, right? In fact, I hardly cook at home. But if I take that credit and I accept that, yay, so that means I am stealing, right? Somebody's work, right? So we need to be very mindful and thoughtful, and why it's really complementing contentment, right? So then I thought about it. It's because we can experience true contentment only when we are in true joy, when we are really with the experiencing, and when we are really connecting with the divine, when you're really truly experiencing the joy. That's when we really feel that highest level of contentment and satisfaction. Then nothing else matters, no, for us, really. Does it matter? Like, even if somebody takes, even if I made food and somebody comes and takes credit for it, even that doesn't disturb me, right? If I'm really in that complete and joy, it doesn't really disturb. It's all coming from divine and in a different form, right? So that's the key. So how do we continue to keep ourselves connecting with the divine and complete joy and practicing the presence of God? And then so that's what we need to do, and we have to do our sadhana, obviously, to be in that space, and including the meditation, including energization, including all other stuff. And some of the ways even Swami and Master talks about, of course, obvious ways, is when we are solution oriented, then we can really be in the space of the contentment and satisfaction, because we are finding the solution to a problem. Usually, even if you look back into our lives, isn't it true? Like when we really find a solution for an existing problem, we immediately feel so happy and joyful, isn't it? So that's one. And also saying yes to life in general. Never complaining about life. And of course, having the most important thing, even Patanjali talks about it, Swami talks about it, Master talks about it, having faith. That's the first step, I think. I'm bringing it up at a later, but having that faith and trust in life itself, that life is here to guide us, protect us, whether through gurus, through gods, however we are connected. I think that's most important thing, having that faith and trust in life itself. Because even it logically, right? How did we come onto this earth? How did we take the birth? It's not really, nothing was in our hands, right? Literally, there are many factors and many things which came together and made it possible for our life to exist. So have that faith in life and trust, and stop complaining. And a very interesting thing, I observed many people, at least the ones in my life closer to me, I was watching them. The most successful ones are the ones I saw them never complain about anything. Whether it's about their work, whether their family or relationship, they could easily complain. There are so many things one could easily complain about stuff, but I saw them, they never really complained about anything. Doesn't mean that they are like just lying and resigned to the fate. That's another aspect of contentment, right? When we say contentment, santosha, that means, oh, are we not growing? Are we not evolving? Are we just whatever, this is our fate and we are accepting that fate and then we are living with that fate? No, it's not like that, but it's a beautiful saying. Master kept saying, even Swami actually explained a lot about it. Whatever comes of life, let it come. But at the same time, there is a beautiful definition he also said when talking about in demystifying Patanjali. The Swami is one of his books talking about Ashtanga Yoga. So he said, actually, the contentment doesn't mean that we are just, passively waiting for the life to happen, but we are very vibrant and bringing that vitality to each moment, and bringing that joy to the each moment, each breath. And that's when we really will feel the contentment. So the faith and trust and saying yes to life and being solution oriented. So all these things will help us to really experience that contentment and santosha. And yeah, I think that's mostly, and I'll want to end with that, but I'll just see if I'm missing any of the last. And I really like the reading today also, and we can tune into that. Each breath, we are asking the divine to be connected and to be flowing within us. So actually, Swami talks about the goal of spiritual path. Actually, what is the goal of spiritual path? Think about it for a moment. He said, of course, the obvious one, we will say that, of course, God realization, self-realization. But he also said, getting rid of all our desires, except the desire for God, right? Desireless desire for God. But he also said, especially the path of Ananda and Swami Kriyananda, and of course the way Master talked about it is, getting rid of desires means we are not hiding in a cave. We are not renouncing everything and leaving everything and just going. But actually, he said, being in each moment of your life, wherever you are placed, but doing with the God's joy. Whether cooking, whether it's just you're serving your family or taking care of your children, whatever we are doing, but doing in joy and with joy. I know it's sometimes challenging, but it's really important. I think that's what he said. Remember that I'm not enjoying that beautiful sky or nature, but still enjoy that, but enjoy with God. That's how Swami put it. So tuning into that. And I just wanted to close with two simple examples from Ananda also. If many of you know that we had a fire accident in Ananda village when they started the village community built up. Swami started this community in 1970, and then within few years, when they already just about establishing themselves and put a lot of effort, energy, and suddenly there was a big, huge fire accident happened. Everybody lost, whoever is there in the community, everybody lost everything. They didn't have anything. As it is, they were very simple. They were living very simply and with a minimum, minimum comforts, I could put it. But even that was lost in the fire accident. And they could have easily complained. They could have easily filed the cases against the local government to claim damages and stuff like that. But Swami and other members, including Jyotish and Devi, everybody, within a few hours, they just went back, moved forward with the joy, again rebuilding the community. I think that's one of the beautiful examples, because we think that, when I'm comfortable, it's very easy for me to say, oh, I'm happy, I'm contented. But when this, even the affirmation talks about in the midst of the storms. So when really the life is giving us challenges and putting in a very difficult situations, how are we responding and how are we reacting? I think that's where the contentment quality is really, that's why it's very supreme virtue, because when you are in a bliss, nothing else really matters. It's God's play, and we recognize that and we'll play along with it. Our role accordingly, but with joy and enjoy. That's all we need to remember. Even in my own personal life, actually, last few months, there were like many challenges, and they were really, it felt really dark times and dark moments. And then in one of the meditations, actually recently in our level 2 class, and we had this exercise, Premdas was leading that, and we had a beautiful exercise where we ask a question and look for response from the God and gurus. So the solution which came to me, or the insight which came to me, was live in joy, more joy, or share more joy, something like that. I was like, how is this relating to the problem? Like I didn't even connect immediately. But then it's so true. It doesn't matter what problem it is, how dark it looks. But when you are in joy, what's happening is we are bringing that light and sharing that light. Because Swami also said, when we are in darkness, we really not going to come out of the darkness by beating it up. We have to bring the light in, open the window or the door, right? So let the light in, and slowly that light can expand through our efforts, through our wishes. So with that, complete. Thank you so much for being you.
Share that thing with everyone where Jyotish and Devi, they lost their
house. Yeah, so Jyotish and Devi actually lost their house. They have a small baby. Deviji, their son was like just months old. So they lost everything. So when Jyotish ji actually, I think, went to contain the fires, and Devi ji was at home with the baby, and then they also lost everything. So Jyotish didn't know about that. So she came up to him, and when they met, and Devi ji said, "Oh, you know what? We lost everything. Entire stuff is gone." They built a small roof over there, a small space for them, and that was also lost. And the small baby without anything, right? Imagine. And Jyotish actually immediately responded saying that, all right, so then we solved the problem of our roof leaking, because the roof was leaking. And they said, we got rid of one. Okay, now we don't have to deal with the leaking roof. That's how we responded, and with joyfully and with a smile. So all of their lives, that's how they responded. Everybody went through many tests. Even Yogananda ji, right, when he came to US, it's a new country and everything, but how he didn't know the language. Really, how do they really live their lives, are great examples for us to take that inspiration and go with joy and go with love. So thank you so much.